Christy from D-Book Art. In my last video, I started this fun star pattern book fold and showed you how to use a triangle fold. Well, I used a basic fold to start this first ray of the star, and then I used a triangle fold to do this internal fold to start the second bottom ray of the star. This is actually the first time I've done this pattern, and I noticed I'm having some problems with some pages sticking out there. So I'm going to just take a little bit of double back tape and just take down those couple first folds so that they don't stick out. There we go. You could just glue them down, but I kind of like to not use glue in these projects. There we go. That looks better. And the other pages will be held in place just by the pressure of the book being closed. All right, so we've gotten to the part of the pattern where we've done this part of the ray where the line is crossing the pattern in two different places, up here and down here. And so I'm to these lines that are just simple folds again. I'll do one of those just to remind you how to do a simple fold. I've already prepared my pattern with this fold to use as a guide. I go to that. I've already done the first full line here, so I'm going to go to the second simple line on the pattern. Okay, there's the one that's marked that I already did. I'm going to mark here at the top, marking both the paper and the pattern. And at the bottom, I remove the pattern and then fold this up so that this line is parallel to the print. And then fold this down, same thing, at the point where I marked so that that page is parallel to the print. Okay, so I will continue to do those simple kind of folds until we get to this point where, again, I've got two separate lines. It'll be the beginning of this center circle. All right, I've done a few more folds, and now I've gotten to the point in the pattern where you can start making this internal circle. So I'm lining up my pattern, and now I'm marking the top of the first line of the circle, the bottom of the first line of the circle, and the bottom. Take out the pattern. Whenever you're doing these internal folds, I find it helpful just to do the top and bottom fold first so that I don't get confused about which one is the mark for the internal fold. Because once you cut something, it's cut, right? So you need to not accidentally cut at the wrong mark. Okay, I folded the top and the bottom. The part that is going to be folded is right here. This is the top and the bottom of that first line of the circle. Now, I have to make a decision. When I was doing the triangle folds before, I was snipping clear through the margin to where the print started. But I'm afraid since I'm making this into a photo frame, I'm afraid that would make too dark of a shadow. So I'm going to use my ruler and make a more shallow snip. And I'm going to just do 1 centimeter. So I'm marking 1 centimeter directly in from the first mark and 1 centimeter directly in from the second mark. I'll use my scissors and snip to that centimeter mark at the top and the bottom. And then I'm just going to take that flap and fold it back. And because I want this to be really flat, because I'm going to put the picture there, be sure and fold it back so that this line is horizontal. Okay, that's my first rectangle fold. It's called a rectangle fold because the shape that's left behind is a rectangle rather than a triangle. So I will continue making those snips and folds. In fact, I'll do another one just to re-emphasize how it's done. I fit the pattern here at the fold, mark the top one where the circle passes over those lines, and then the bottom end. Take the fold out, and then take the pattern out, make the bottom fold, make the top fold, then I'm going to measure in 1 centimeter here, straight in, 1 centimeter here, straight in, and I snip to that mark, that centimeter mark, snip here, and then fold that flap back so that the edge is horizontal. And there's my second fold. So I'll continue making these rectangle folds until I've done all of this internal circle. And that will be a nice little frame for me to put my picture. Okay, I have finished folding my star pattern. And you can kind of see how it's turned out. You can see this flat area where I've done the rectangle folds. This area and this area where I did the triangle folds. And then the rest of it were just simple folds. You can see why I chose to do triangle folds here on the sides because it matches the slant that we get for the rest of the pattern as the outline for the rest of the pattern. But I didn't want that slant in the middle, and so I did the rectangle folds there in the middle. Now, as always, we go back and check the way that the design has turned out to see if there's anything that we really want to refold. I can see a couple that maybe can be adjusted a little bit. This one, I think, needs to be adjusted just a tiny bit to make it match the ones nearby. Again, did it too much. I'm going to move it back a little bit. And maybe a few more after you've adjusted all the ones you think you want to adjust. Move this one just a bit. That looks pretty good. Then I'm going to go back, use my book folding bone. This is a little bit more complicated to make those folds all nice and straight. I'm going to fold back a few at a time until each time when I straighten those creases, I have kind of a flat surface to work on. So this one down here. Again, if you don't have a book folding bone, you can just use a nice sturdy ruler to do this. Okay, so here I am, and there's my star shape. Oops, one of these have popped up. And you can go back, and if you need to tape down any of these more shallow folds, you can. So then I went ahead and I made a pattern for that internal space, and then used it to cut out cute picture of my young reader to put inside. And I'll either tape or glue that inside, and then this project will be done. You can find the patterns for these tutorials at my website, at my blog, thebookart.blogspot.com. I'm going to do one more video, and it's going to be about how to actually make your own patterns, so that once you get a hang of the basics of the book folding, you can really make a pattern and fold anything you want. So stay tuned. That should be coming out soon. Thanks.